So a thing I've been screaming about for a very long time is the way in which sexual predators are treated, generally speaking, sexual predators, especially towards children, right? Now, I'd like to think that if we have something in common, and by we, I mean myself and the general populace, whoever is unlucky enough to come across my videos, I'd like to think that we, as relatively sound-minded individuals, can address the fact that any type of sexual abuse is wrong, and especially towards children. I thought that was a basic concept. Once again, Earth disappoints me, and here we are with another article where it just seems like there's a lot of leniency for people who not only don't deserve it, but are an actual threat to society. People who not only endanger children, but traumatize them, so these children have to carry things no child should have to carry. I'm going to be using two sources because one source is very bare bones, but I trust it more. The other source has more details, but I trust it less, so per usual, grain of salt. Man accused of trying to kidnap Aurora Elementary student will have all charges dropped. Now, you may have seen this all over social media. The thing about social media generally, but especially in this case, is that the way they're framing this is not entirely true. So based on this title, you'd think that this criminal is getting no time and he's just back on the streets. That's not really the case. It's still fucked up, mind you, but it's not exactly that. Solomon Galligan, 34, was found incompetent to stand trial in June, according to the 18th Judicial District Attorney's Office. A man accused of nearly kidnapping an Aurora Elementary school boy during recess will have his case dismissed, according to the District Attorney's Office. Solomon Galligan, 34, is charged with kidnapping and child abuse after investigators say he lunged at a child playing outside at Black Hills Elementary School on April 19th, 2024. The whole ordeal was captured on surveillance video, which I'll insert. Showing the suspect wearing a blue hoodie with dark pants and holding a white blanket. He could be seen walking up to the child on the field before the kids started running away from him, police said in a probable cause statement. According to Eric Ross, a spokesperson for the 18th Judicial District Attorney's Office, a doctor found Galligan incompetent to stand trial last month. By state statute, we are required to dismiss charges in the case, said Ross. Whatever mental issues you have, whether it is mental illness or any type of mental problem, honestly, it is not your fault, but it will be your responsibility. Because realistically, if we don't put the responsibility on this man, who are we going to put the responsibility on? And if it's no one, then is this not just this man living with absolutely no consequence? And I realize that that might sound potentially heartless, but oh well, my priority is really not this man. It's the children who would have to pay for this man to basically live with no consequences. That being said, those consequences don't have to be prison. It could be being in some kind of mental health facility or whatever facility is deemed correct for his personal situation. It could be that he needs to be supervised when he goes out. It could be that he's not allowed to go in spaces where children are. He could have the same rules as sex offenders because he's also a sex offender, and we're going to get into that. I don't think no consequences is really the solution here. Denver 7 Investigates has extensively covered a law that changed in Colorado last summer, requiring judges to dismiss cases in which defendants are found incompetent and not restorable. However, the DA's office insists Galligan will not be back on the streets when the charges are dropped. The defendant will be civilly committed for mental health treatment. Contrary to what has been reported, the defendant is not being released out in the public, said Ross. And this is what I was referring to when I said that, like on Twitter and other social media. The implication was that he was just released and totally free to go wherever. Thankfully, that's not the case. However, this should have been done a long time ago, and you'll understand why. A civil commitment is also known as an involuntary mental health treatment in Colorado. According to the Colorado Office of Behavioral Health, these civil commitments do not last longer than 12 months, depending on the process. This is what's interesting to me. If defendants are found incompetent and not restorable, key terms, not restorable, hence, you cannot be cured of what's wrong with you. Why is there a maximum time? Like, if this is a problem you're going to have for the rest of your life, why do you only stay in the institution for 12 months? I'm not saying be locked up forever. I am saying potentially go live, you know, those kind of towns that are meant for sex offenders? That. And this person, like I said, is a sex offender. That's going to come up. But there are more things that you can do here, especially if you're deeming someone basically beyond help, which is what this is saying. Court records show Galligan has had 4 criminal cases throughout the state dismissed, and in all of them, the issue of competency was raised. According to the arrest affidavit in his kidnapping case, Galligan is also a registered sex offender after he was convicted of non-consent sexual contact in 2011. So this is not the first time, and this time was quote-unquote minor as opposed to other times. Other times sound more aggressive and violent than this. Why wasn't he in some mental facility in the first place? And why did they let him out if they themselves are saying that it's basically non-fixable, that this is a problem he's going to have for a lifetime? Galligan is expected to have a court hearing scheduled for later this month. That's where this article ends. So this article from the godforsaken New York Post has more details, and some of these are kind of surprising because it's just odd that they're kind of brought up here and not brought up there, which also makes me doubt their legitimacy. A Democratic prosecutor in Colorado will be recalled for moving to dismiss charges against a transgender sex offender accused of trying to kidnap a boy from a schoolyard, a local poll told the Post on Monday. The district attorney's office in Colorado, 18th Judicial District, told Fox 31 that it is planning to drop the raps against Solomon Galligan, and then it goes on to tell you that he tried to kidnap someone. Okay. The fact that this person is trans wasn't mentioned anywhere else. To be honest, I don't really think it's important unless someone's going to try and turn it political, which people who assault, abuse, and go for children, they're all pedos. Like, honestly, the gender identity, that does nothing. Like, it genuinely does nothing. Whether it's a man, a woman, someone who's non-binary, like, truly, I do not give a singular fuck about all of that, so I just thought it was interesting that it was included here as if it really adds anything. The interesting thing here is that Democratic prosecutor, quote unquote, will be recalled. So this is causing enough of a scandal where the prosecutor, people are like, hey, this is not how we roll. So people are actually turning against this, and they're not just quietly going with the flow, which is something I appreciate personally, because I think this is absolutely crazy, and as I've said a billion times before, this sets a precedent. Why would we have a case where you just let someone who's clearly a pedophile or sex offender or both, whatever you want to call them, out and about? Because he is going to be out and about. Like, not right now, but in 12 months, once the maximum stays over, where is he going? So this is the woman that they want recalled, mainly because of this case, but also apparently she's butchered a bunch of other things. And it says, the conduct of the 18th DA over the past 6 months is beyond deplorable. This simply is the icing on the cake, said Jurinsky, a Republican. The progressive attitude will not be tolerated, she said. While certain state laws highlight deeper issues in the state of Colorado, Amy Padden, the one they want recalled, will be recalled for her part in not upholding the laws and punishing criminals. The suspected sex fiend's older sister, Sarah Galligan, even told 9 News in April 2024 that her brother has been in and out of jail for 12 years and that it's not safe for community or himself to be out on the streets. I really think that anything that has to do with pedos transcends politics, so where you stand on the political spectrum when it comes to cases like this, I don't think is particularly relevant. Aside from that, it's also interesting that the suspect's own sister is like, this guy's bad news, he shouldn't be out. If your own family is saying you should not be on the streets, you are a danger to society, basically, should we not take that, not at face value, but calculate that, put it in the equation, consider it perhaps? The people who probably know him best are like, no, this person's been in and out of jail for a decade. What more do you need? Does this have to turn into a murder for it to be taken seriously? That's where I start losing my shit, because really, you're giving the same people chances over and over and over again, and granted, he might be mentally incompetent, so he might not realize what he's doing, but that does not change what the outcomes are. Do we need to wait for a tragic outcome before we're like, man, he should be locked up? I kind of feel like we've already been past that. So this is going back to the sister talking about him. She said her sibling, who was diagnosed with schizophrenia and bipolar disorder when he was 16, was deemed unfit to stand trial in previous instances and wasn't institutionalized because of a shortage of beds in mental health centers. So this is also important, because it's not that he wasn't institutionalized because they had no grounds or they wanted to give the benefit of that. It was actually a logistical thing, which by now, I'm sure all of these places are relatively full, but they don't have a space for him. None of these places. Nowhere close to him, no institution has a space. Like a singular space for one person. It's hard for me to believe, I'm going to be honest. It really sucks he had to do something so eye-catching for everybody to see he's not well and he's not okay to be out and be on his own, she said at the time. So again, the people who know him best, his family, are even like, this is not the way. Amanda Morris, Solomon's niece, added, "This has been like the fourth time that we're sitting thinking, how the hell did he get released? Who's letting him out?" His own family is like, who's letting this guy out? He should not be out. I feel like that pretty much is all you need to know, right? Because I think that his family is the one that wants him around, that wants him close enough. I'm not assuming they have a perfect family, but for the most part, you don't really want your family members in prison for a long time or institutions, right? So if they're saying this, I feel like there should be some merit. And the fact that he's just being bounced from mental facility to another for 12 months until he does something else, and then God knows what happens. What are we doing here? This is such an open and shut case. And this is also what drives me crazy. These cases are kind of wastes of time in the sense of how much more open and shut can it be? He has a criminal past. He has a criminal past in terms of sex offending. So I really don't understand what more we need. He should be committed to some mental health facility for longer than 12 months. He's apparently uncurable according to the article. So, I mean, I don't really know what we're waiting for, and I don't know why we're wasting time pretending like it's this really super nuanced thing, which it just isn't, because the actions speak louder than the words. So then the New York Post continues on with the trans aspect of this, which honestly, I'm not really sure what it does because it doesn't really add anything to the narrative in terms of what we're talking about trying to kidnap a kid and being a sex offender. They talk about this, and I'll link this down below if you want to read the whole thing, but they talk about this Facebook post that Galligan posted in 2011. And basically it says that he was identifying as a woman. And that was the same year that he was placed on the sex offender registry. So he posted this on Facebook. "So I'm starting my hormone shots and I really can't wait. I'm on my hormone pills. I've been on them for almost 4 months. I wake up all depressed and crying, but in the end, it's going to be totally worth it. You know what I mean? I'm really excited. My measurements are already changing and I'm super thrilled," he wrote at the time. So make of this what you will. To me, the fact that there are significant, pretty serious mental illnesses going on, I think that's far more important than any of this trans narrative, because truly it doesn't explain anything to me. The mental illnesses explain a lot more. Galligan allegedly grabbed one of the youngsters but lost his grip when he tripped on a white blanket he was carrying, according to the police report. The young child later told cops that Galligan had white powder smeared on his face and reeked of alcohol. Galligan fled the scene but was later located by the cops. It's really like what I said before. This seems pretty open and shut to me. And as much as I do think we do have to have a level of understanding for people that have mental illnesses, mental issues just at large, it also can't turn into a situation where you have these problems, so by default, there are no consequences for you ever, because I really don't think that is a good precedent to put into place. And on the contrary, if you have ill-meaning individuals who know about this precedent, they can bank on that. They can bank on being mentally incompetent to pull all this type of crazy shit and never get in real trouble for it. Maybe 12 months in some mental facility, and then what, you're done? That's it? I don't know. You guys can let me know what you think in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you to my patrons as always, and I'll catch you guys next time.